Right, the two-tier policing and justice system we're seeing in this country at the moment, it's not a conspiracy theory, it's a fact. Some people are being dealt with far more stricter than others for exactly the same thing in this country. And that's why it's, making people angry and worrying people, and rightly so. Now, don't get me wrong. There were people who attended these protests, and these protests were meant to be for people who were fed up with the two-tier policing system, and it's not a new thing under Labour, by the way. It's happened recently under the Tories, but also about valid concerns about illegal migration, and that doesn't mean people hate foreigners, by the way, of which we've all been labelled as racists. And also people got to the streets because of the murder of the 3 girls in Southport. And they wanted to do this peacefully, but these were hijacked by some idiots who decided to attack the police and police vehicles. And for them, yes, the law should be throwing the book at them, and rightly so. But there are people in custody who have been so far fast-tracked to a jail sentence, and you're talking 2 to 3 year terms here. For one guy who shouted at a police dog, another guy who shouted at the police, "You ain't English anymore," and the latest is a bloke who just received a few years for, and I quote, "You are protecting people who are killing our kids and raping them," end quote. And he shouted this at police with riot shields. Now, the judge who sentenced him said, and I quote, "You did not yourself attack any police officer as far as can be detected, but what you did was encourage by your conduct others to behave violently, and you were part of this mob." So in that case, why hasn't every single person who attended a protest been arrested and fast-tracked into prison? And yet, as I said in previous videos, there's nobody from the Hare Hills riots recently being fast-tracked to a prison sentence. Why is that? Even the 2 violent thugs who assaulted the armed police in Manchester Airport, they're free, they're on bail. And then there's the guy in Nando's a few days ago of a certain demographic. You can see him on CCTV slapping a waitress. And what happened to him? Well, the police did nothing so far. And the Met have admitted that the report was not progressed promptly by officers. I wonder why. And yes, it really is all down to Keir Starmer's government strong-arming authorities into locking up people they believe to be agitators. And it's also concerning that Keir Starmer's government are also releasing hundreds, if not thousands, of violent criminals back on our streets in order to make room for people who are involved in these protests and writing hurty words on social media. And from my own experience working in the criminal justice system for 11 years, I promise you, a lot of these people will reoffend, and it'll be innocent people who will be targeted just because Keir Starmer wants to play politics and ultimately have control on freedom of speech. They have already released a killer who was merely months into his sentence to make way for people who the government deemed to be far right. And this bloke killed a lad with a machete. So like I said, the violent ones who turned the protest into riots, yes. Do they deserve jail? Maybe. But there are other people in this country who have committed similar crimes who haven't had jail. And that's the problem. It's the innocent people who were stood there at these protests who did nothing and said nothing. And yet they were arrested by police snatch squads that I'm concerned about. It's the ones who shared social media posts and memes who are in custody and been denied bail are the ones I'm concerned about, which makes me think that really these people are Keir Starmer's political prisoners. And labelling these people far right is just convenient. Plus the fact that the government's own Home Office are in cahoots and have been retweeting the Crown Prosecution Service tells me that the government is working hand in hand with the justice system to implement this, when they shouldn't be in cahoots at all. And there we go. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. I'm Paz49. Thanks for watching. And until the next time, Roger Trout.